Hi guys, my name is Glenn and I'm here to talk to you today about finding your first tenant. And I'm going to be talking about my personal experience. I just rented out my first unit. It's basically a mother-in-law suite studio apartment up in my basement. So I guess the first thing you really need to know about going and renting out your first unit is how to actually find people. So we have marketing at number one. So these aren't really listed in any particular order, but marketing is number one. If you don't have people to choose from, then you might end up making like a bad decision, and or you may not even get the competitive rates that you're looking for. So I tried Facebook Marketplace to rent it out, and which wasn't bad. It got me a lot of leads, but it didn't really get the right people involved. You have a lot of people offering cash. I bring it to you tomorrow, and you really want to avoid that type of stuff. So I took my post down, and I took another look at it. I figured out where other people were posting there, so I went back on it like a week later. I was like, okay, well, I put it on Facebook, I put it on Zillow, and I put it on Craigslist. And while doing that, I got, I don't know, probably like 60, 70 leads in just a couple of days. So, highly suggest Zillow. It helped me out a lot. I didn't have a lot of luck with Craigslist, but I know in different states it's a little bit different as far as the community for that. So, try it out. And then Facebook Marketplace, you're almost guaranteed to find at least a few people no matter where you are. Just the number of people on Facebook just makes it a great place to be. So you want to be careful because some places charge you, some places don't. You could go the whole property management way, which I don't want a property manager, but you could find leads through property managers and other realtors in your area. And then that leaves us all. Oops, sorry about that. That leaves off us at number two. So you're gonna have to find your rate. I went ahead and I kind of guesstimated my rate because I have a one bedroom studio apartment kind of in my house. So I didn't feel like splitting off the utilities. So I had to factor in the utilities and the internet into the bill. So you may or may not want to do that. But you want to go and see what's competitive in your area. If you're renting, you got a whole house, what are single family houses renting for in the area? And you kind of want to have an honest judgment. Is your house really as good or better than that property? Can you up the rent? Will you have to lower the rents? If there's a person who has a post on Zillow from 90 days ago is trying to rent their place at 1400, well, probably the going rate is probably 13 or 1200. So this is going to be very dependent on your area and really dependent on your house and really dependent on the quality. So those are things to consider, and there are ways to figure out the rates better. You can talk to a local realtor or you can talk to a property manager. But the best way is just to go look and see what these things are renting for on the internet. And there's just different sources for that. You got Zillow, you got Facebook, and other resources. So the next thing that's really important, and I got wrong in my first couple of showings, is presentation. So presentation is almost everything. So if you got clutter in there, take it out. If it's fully furnished, then that's great, but make sure everything's clean, all the pillows are put in place, all that type of thing. You really want to make it as like ideal as possible going in. And you definitely, during the presentation, you really need to let them know about possible hiccups you may have. Like for me, they'll live right below me, so they got to hear my walking on these hardwood floors. See if they want to hear that. Also, let them know that it can be like if you need a shorter notice to enter the property. Like for me, I need a short notice to enter the property because I have all my electrical and I have all my air filters and plumbing in the basement. So I need to be able to reach that if need be. So definitely talking about everything you need to know during the presentation. You need to be telling them about where they're going to be parking, who they're looking for, are they quiet. You need to be talking to them to gather information to find out whether or not they're the perfect fit for you. So I guess that goes to my next thing, application. So you really need some place where you can go to get people to apply or put in an application to buy your property. This is going to help whatever market you're in, really going to help you pick the best one. So I used Zillow for my first time. It worked great. I had no complaints from that, and it was cheap for them, and it was a useful tool. But going on from that, so the things you're going to be wanting to look at mainly is their background check. Have they been evicted? Are they a felon? Are there any other crimes you need to know about? If not, okay, cool. Well, we'll go to the credit report. Do they have a low credit score? Well, that could mean one or two things. They could have just bought a new car and got a new credit card in the same month, and it completely destroyed their credit. So I would look at credit card utilization. You want that to really be below 50%, and I would look at on-time payments. So if they're using 50% of their available credit, and they make every payment on time, well, that's probably okay. If they've been making on-time payments for some years and they don't have any evictions, there's nothing there that will tell me personally that they don't pay rent or they're willing not to pay rent. But really, if you have an applicant with a great credit score, well, they're really turning into your number one client, because that's just showing you how they treat other people's money. So when they sign the lease, it's kind of like them saying, hey, I'm going to owe you money every month. And then you have to kind of go off their word, but not really, because you can go off their credit score, what they've been doing with other people. So also, another thing I learned is make sure they apply before you get a tour. I was scheduling tours for 50 people at one point. It was crazy. People were calling me left and right, opening and closing doors. I'm having to get off work early. I'm staying late. I can't do anything because I'm trying to show this property. And no one applies for it. So a good way to weed out the people who are interested and not interested is make sure they put in the application. Just like jobs, if you give them the application to apply, well, 90% of them don't even apply. So that really helps you out with weeding through these people and really saving you a lot of time. And which leads me to a great segue to scheduling. I made a huge mistake. I scheduled appointments and I tried to remember them. I have a great memory. Every one of my friends can attest to it. I remember stuff. But I don't have the best memory in the world. So I'm forgetting about people. I'm double booking appointments. I have no shows. No one's calling me. I don't know who's supposed to be showing up. I don't know who to call to make sure they're not coming or they are coming. And it left me with a lot of time just sitting there. And then a lot of crunch time because I booked people who were interested at the same time. Well, you could probably assume that if I would have just made people apply before they came, well, I probably would have had a lot less people. And I probably wouldn't have a hard time scheduling. But you got to think, I didn't have but 50, 60 people. If you're in a busy area, then maybe having an application is definitely necessary. Because you probably have 1,000 people try to show up. But with that application, you can bump it down to 50, and you do 50 showings, and you have a good schedule. It makes you look good. It makes a lot of people happy, so they get a fair opportunity to look at and apply for the place and actually decide if they want to live there. And it's just a great situation all around. And then you don't have to be scheduling random appointments like 2:15 p.m. on a Thursday. So definitely need a schedule. And you're going to get a lot of people, well, not a lot, depending on your area, of course. But I would definitely have an answer to, do you offer Section 8 living? In my situation, I did not, because at the time I bought the place, it was December 14th. And when I made my decision, it was around December 10th. So I had no time to get Section 8 approved. And so maybe if I could have, but you definitely need to have an answer. People are going to call you like, hey, do you offer Section 8 approval? Like, can I give you my voucher? All that. You need to have an answer, whether it be yes or no. You should really know about that before you get started. And it might be a great way for you to earn a little bit extra money or more consistent money if you live in a rougher part of the neighborhood on your first rental property. So keep that in mind. Section 8 approval is a great thing, but it takes a little bit of time to get set up. And I wouldn't necessarily say the next is sad stories. So when you get people calling you on your phone, whether or not they're about to apply for this place or not, everyone's going to have a story, and most people are going to have a sad story. And while whether or not they're true or not, you have to be accommodating to that fact in your head that they're going through a tough time in their life. But at the same time, most people are going through a hard time in their life during moving time. I know every single time I needed to go to a different apartment, it was kind of tough sliding around different places and getting an apartment. And some people had their house burned down. Some people are getting kicked out. Some people are going through a divorce, a breakup. Some people got kicked out of a school. They're going to another school. It gets crazy. So be prepared for a lot of sad stories. But remember, at the end of the day, it is a business, and you do got to pick the best person for you. So if you're willing to help someone out, that's great. I'm not in a position to really accommodate too much. Like, if they have a sad story, but they have a good credit score and a good income, that's great. I'll take them in. But you have to look at what the high chances are you are to turn a profit and or keep your place of living nice. So just take those sad stories with a grain of salt and keep moving forward. Okay, now when you're getting your first unit, mine had very little upfront effort. I had to put a lock on a door. I had to get a few electrical and plumbing issues for the upstairs area fixed up, but nothing major. Very small fixes. For me, my stuff was already completely renovated, remodeled. It was great. But you need to make sure for yourself that would you live there? Or is this unacceptable? Is this acceptable? You really need to figure that out. And it's really common sense, but if you don't have a lot of that, then I would definitely get some inspector to go through and like, yes, this is habitable. This is okay. There's no complaints. And you should go through, as a minimum first upfront effort, is go around and take pictures of the entire place. So you have them, and so the tenant knows you have them. And so there's no like, this didn't work, this doesn't work. You need to be checking all of your switches, all your lights, everything. So just in case something comes up in the future, you can be like, okay, well this isn't what normal wear and tear, this is a giant hole in the wall. And you have a picture to prove that there was a giant hole in the wall made. Pretty simple stuff, but it gets hairy. Alright, so I came across a few red flags. Like, I offered my apartment downstairs as a no smoking apartment. I can't be around smoke. I have asthma. You probably hear me breathe heavy already. When I get around cigarette smoke, I can't breathe. And so I didn't want anyone below me smoking. Now, they smoke on their own time, not in the apartment. I have no problem with that. But I definitely don't want them smoking in the apartment. And when they show up and they smell like cigarettes, well, that's a red flag. If you have someone at the end of your presentation offering you cash money right now to accept you, that's a huge red flag. Would highly suggest not taking upfront cash. It's just a bad way to get bad customers. Trust me. So with that, you need to be making sure that like these red flags include not having a check stub every week, having really bad credit in the 500s, like below 500s even. There's a lot of red flags, and you just need to nitpick them for you, so you know. Now, can you bring a tenant in that has a red flag. Yes, you can date someone that has a red flag too, but they're called red flags for a reason because they're normally a deal breaker. If you see someone is super cramped in your unit, like in the kitchen of my unit, the ceilings are 6'5", 6'6" in height. That's the max height that is like right here, and that's about all you get. So when someone comes in to look at the apartment and they're 6'6" and they're pushing up the roofing tiles, that's a red flag. Like, he's not going to be happy living there, and you're not going to be happy replacing the ceiling tiles. So those are just all things to keep in mind. Now, another thing I haven't really mentioned up until this point is leases. So you need to find out what's legal in your state, and really need to do some research on the clauses of your lease. And you need to bring up this lease a lot during your presentation. Like, so this would be on the lease, this would be on the lease, I'm going to give you this much time notice, like, all pets must be on the lease, all the little things. There's no smoking in the apartment. Everything that can be on the lease that is legal, and make sure it's legal, because some things are a little bit weird with that, needs to be specifically dealt with on the lease. Late fees and monthly grace periods and everything. So make sure when you write your lease, and you may need an attorney, most of the time you don't, just do your own homework and make a good lease. I got my lease from Office Depot. They sell the little lease packets, and it's pretty much a fill it out yourself, but it's pretty solid. It doesn't let you do a lot of things. I would recommend it. But I think that really sums up the whole leasing out your new place. So finding your first tenant is a little bit tough, and there's a lot of work that goes with it. But after that, it's pretty passive income. I can't wait to get my first rent payment here in a couple weeks. And I really hope everything goes well. In my screening process, I found my ideal candidate. It was great. So I came in with a candidate in mind. Like, I wanted a grad international student that makes enough money to pay on the lease. That's exactly what I found. I kept everyone open in mind, and it was a really close call, even though I did have that perfect candidate already. But this how everything played out, and some people canceling their applications. That's the one I chose. So if you have any questions about this, about what is legal and not legal on the lease, you can put it down in the comments. If you have any questions about how to take pictures of your property and how to talk to your first tenants, just put it down in the comments, and I will answer the comments as soon as I see them. So please go ahead and like the video and go ahead and subscribe for more content. Thank you guys. I'll see you later.